Hello and welcome to my world and a casual review. This time we're talking about Marvel Spider-Man on the PlayStation 4. It is a game I featured on my gaming tour here in 2023. And I'm not going to waste any time in saying it. It is a game in terms of just its base game. It is a game worth completing. And I'm talking base game, the game as originally released with its original trophy list. Anybody can complete it. It is without question a very approachable game. You can play it on any difficulty. If you're thorough and you do everything, and I mean everything, there is just a lot to do. And then you have the City That Never Sleeps DLC, which adds even more things for you to do, and you realize that everything is just completely possible. Spider-Man as a game sets the gold standard for open world superhero games, I'm saying this mostly because it is pure. It is clear this is a refinement the of what was put into the Batman Arkham games, because it's the same developers, if memory serves me correctly. I should make notes, but no, I always go off the top of my head and the gut feeling and everything of that sort, even months after the fact. Um, One of the things I absolutely loved about this game is it is so approachable with its controls. The controls are so good and are become so second nature that it is no shock to me that they use the same control scheme for the pseudo sequel Spider-Man Miles Morales, which I'll do a casual review of down the line once I finish playing that, because I have a separate thoughts and opinions regarding that game as it compares to this one. But Spider-Man in and of itself, very great controls. Everything flows, and once you start remembering like how to dodge, how the attacks, using Spider-Man's various powers in terms of switching from the R1 trigger to using the web shooter, the web bombs. Uh, uh, there's the I forget there was the little spider drones and things of that sort. There's a lot of variety, a lot of different things that you can do, and you can approach any situation you want. The challenges, most folks know I hate the stealth challenges, but I found myself very much enjoying the challenge and the puzzle of doing and I do mean all of the stealth challenges, uh, the Taskmaster ones and even the Screwball ones. It's like when you are given an impressive toolkit to use, and he's like, "Here, go nuts," and you can approach it that there isn't one right solution to it depending on your play style. There's probably a more optimum way of doing it, but it's it was just fun. It was absolutely fun altogether. Story wise, it does a pretty good job of telling a story that takes place over the period of several days, actually over the course of over the course of a few weeks. Um, so you definitely get the sense of time passing, but then at the same time you realize just how busy the life of a superhero is when you look at all the stuff that you can do in between the major story missions, which is realize. And then when you get to the towards the end game, you realize, oh, you have fewer and fewer things to do, but at the same time you are given more things to do as the story progresses. Collectibles is was actually a real treat to go through, because you're basically given uh, the location of every collectible in the city once they become available. It's like, oh, find the backpacks, or for example, it's like you can go ahead and do that early on. Find all the landmarks. You can do that early on, as soon as you reach a story point where it becomes available to you. You can knock things out pretty systematically, and that's another strength of this game, is that it allowed me to play it the way I prefer to play open world games, is where like I like to do all of a certain activity, it keeps me focused and things of that sort. Again, the same approach I took with Saints Row 22 and the other Saints Row games that I've played over the years, and it's the same approach I'm taking to a lesser degree with Spider-Man Miles Morales. Again, once I finish that game, I will give my thoughts on that game, because again, there is a definite difference between the two. Um, I know some folks took some umbrage or issue with the soundtrack for Marvel Spider-Man, is that it's quote unquote is too much in the vein of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and so it comes across a bit one note. But then you realize you go through a lot of the Spider-Man media over the years. That's kind of been the general vibe of those of us who grew up with the Spider-Man cartoon of the '90s that aired on Fox Kids. Yeah, okay, well, the score from this game would easily fit with the plot elements of that particular series. And again, one of the core strengths of this game is like it is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Granted, there's just that great. It's like the tone of the music matches the beats of the game. In terms of the villains and antagonists, obviously your big villain is Doctor Octopus and the general descent into madness, which is not as general, is not as subtle as it appears to be. Is or sudden as it seems, as Otto Octavius's overall vibe as a character and is seeking revenge. It becomes like, oh, this was going to happen regardless of what if Peter Parker was helping him in developing the technology that lets him get his arms. We don't really get you don't really get much in the way of the other major villains. Like Shocker has a big part, and like towards the end of the game when the Sinister Six are, and the big breakout from the raft, and you go, okay, you get the Rhino, the Vulture, Electro, and the like. Oh, and a rematch with Martin Lee's Mr. Negative. You have all these big elements being put into place. For like your big showdown was like mandatory showdown. It's like, yeah, you need a wide variety of villains, but they're basically, for the most part, kept behind where you're at in the story. It's like, because again, this game takes place. Spider-Man has already been doing things for a time and already has put villains behind bars. Matter of fact, you basically open dealing with the putting away the Kingpin, often depicted as the most difficult villain for Spider-Man or any of the Marvel heroes to put behind bars for any particular length of time. And 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 so you're basically dealing with, you just new villains stepping into the power void, such as the demons, again tied with Martin Lee's Mr. Negative and so forth. There could be like some issues that one could take with they killed off Aunt May in the towards the story's climax, but it works very well because it serves as a bonding experience between Peter and Miles at the same time, because it's like Miles loses his father during the course of the game. It's like, okay, Peter puts him in. It's like knows what type of how that could affect someone. All right, have Miles work at the feast homeless shelters, and that means Miles is working with Aunt May, and so it definitely creates that big bonding moment. So it definitely works, and you have that trust that gradually gets built up to eventually Peter revealing his identity to Miles in the end credit sequence, when Miles, he gets bitten by a spider and he developed his own powers, and again develop everything, going from there. Um, Again, we're jumping all over the place again. So, but that's kind of how we do here. Um, let's talk about the City That Never Sleeps DLC, which definitely follows up on several plot threads. One of the big plot threads is like, excuse me, Silver Sable leaving, but all of her goons and tech are left behind. It's like, okay, that is actually followed up on, and it leads to a real satisfying climax. Is like involving the Black Cat, and you have Tombstone, who was a villain that I really appreciated from the Spider-Man 1990s cartoon. So having seeing Tombstone utilized in such a creative way, basically turned into a giant into a mech, it was just awesome. And the DLC is actually worth completing and so forth. Particularly the stuff related to Screwball, character that is introduced for like almost like a one-off, if memory serves me right, during the main campaign, but she becomes your new taskmaster, and it's a recurring little side story in the DLC that leads to one of the best chase sequences, and arguably the most frustrating chase sequence of the entire game. I was about to give up until I managed to do it. Do you have to be on point, even on the lowest difficulty? You have to be on point to complete the screwball chase in the DLC. I mean, but once you complete it, it's great. So it's like the negatives. Do I have any real negatives with Spider-Man for the PS4? I could say the logic puzzle mini games that you're seeing here. They're logic based. They're pretty simple, and you aren't timed on them. So it's like, nah, they're fine. They serve as a little diversion. You have plenty of side quests throughout the city, so there's a lot of different things to do. Um, the whole characterization of Mayor Osborn and his justification for doing what he's doing with the Devil's Breath, you get that big revelation. And more likely, if I was to take a guess, that in Spider-Man 2 that's coming out for the PlayStation 5, Harry Osborn. Wait, did I say Harry? I said Norman Osborn is the mayor. It's like Harry Osborn is kind of like AWOL, but more likely he's going to be Venom in the PlayStation 5 sequel, Spider-Man 2, which eventually, very far down the line, I will probably play, because at this point in time I don't have a PS5. So that's I'm not even considering that on my lineup here for 2023 or early 2024 at this point. But again, from a casual gamer standpoint, the Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, it's worth playing. Matter of fact, now that I think about it, there is one thing I don't like about this game. The faces have some real early PlayStation 3 uncanny valley looking features about him. Particularly Peter Parker, Mary Jane have some of the creepiest looking faces. Is like they should have left those a little bit longer in development and refined them. Matter of fact, one of the things I noticed when playing Spider-Man Miles Morales, when I started that, you got the opening scene which recaps the events of this particular game. They have a different character model for Peter. But so they knew that the faces looked awful. So yeah, some of the facial features and stuff like that could just look downright creepy. And for a game that was released in the PlayStation 4 era, there is no excuse for that. I mean, some of the character models look worse, particularly when compared to, say, games that were exclusive to, say, the Xbox 360. It's just like, but again, that's just my personal opinion. But getting back to it, I do highly recommend it. If you have not played Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4, and you get like an upscale version on the PlayStation 5 if you're playing it that way, definitely check it out, play it. Again, go through everything, go through all the DLC. I mean, you will have a very, very positive experience playing it. Again, that's just my personal opinion, but I'm sticking by it in this particular case. So with that said, tighten your friendship bracelets, stay safe. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you're so inclined, and we'll see y'all in the next video.